Thank you for watching part 1 of Tara's heartfelt story about overcoming poverty. One idea she shared truly stood out to me. When you grow up poor, you often believe your life is normal because it's all you've ever known. Only when you meet others or see different ways of living do you realize just how far from normal your experience really was. In part 2 of her journey, Tara continues to talk about the experiences she once believed everyone went through. Stories of addiction and abuse that are far too common in the world of poverty. It is truly incredible that she did not let these experiences hold her back from becoming who she is now. Strong, resilient woman of faith, and a dedicated and inspiring teacher.
So funny story, and I got a little teary on that.
Mhm.
Miss Foster we were there late one night, and I had my phone laying on my desk, and she was in there talking to me, and that was kind of my dirty little secret that I just didn't share with many people. I didn't share that
Mhm.
my brother is a full blown addict, and we are having all these problems, and he's in and out of jail, and he's driving me nuts, and he calls me, and he wants money, and he's making me nuts, he's making me insane. I never know where he's at when he's not in jail, so I was kind of thankful that he was in jail. And so I was hanging up some posters across on my big window, and the phone rang, and I didn't have any shoes on. I remember that. And I just walked over to my desk and flipped the little button to answer the phone and went back over, and it was a 706 number, so I knew it was somebody from here. And it said, "You have a collect call from Katusa account." And I was like, "No, no, 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 no." So I ran over, and I was trying to get it off speakerphone because I didn't want Miss Foster to know.
Mhm.
And so when of course, I accepted the call, and I started yelling at him, and I was crying, and Miss Foster was just standing there, and she got teary.
Mhm.
And when I hung up the phone, I was like, well, now you know my dirty little secret. Because it was not something that I talked about. It wasn't something that I was comfortable telling
Mhm.
people. And so for years, I prayed for this young man. He's like my son. It's my mom and I kind of grew up together. She was very young. And then it's almost like we had a child together, and his name is Colby. And he was a good kid. I don't know what happened to him when he got about 14. I'm like, boy, did aliens come and suck your brain out of your head? Like, what is going on? And then he joined the military, and I had high hopes, because he was drinking a lot. And he got out of the military. We moved to Texas the year that he got out
Mhm.
of the military in 2014. And he called me in the middle of the night crying. And he said, "I don't know how to do this." And I said, "Do what? You don't know how to do what?" And he said, "I don't know how to be a civilian." And I was like, "Well, brother, you're going to have to learn." Like he 8 years in the army, 2 terms over in Afghanistan, and he became an alcoholic. And I fussed at him all the time about the drinking. You got to stop the drinking. You got to stop the drinking. And then it was, I don't know what came first. I mean, because we were distance, we were far apart. He was in Alaska, he was stationed in Alaska, and I was in Texas, or I was here, and he went full blown drug addict. Like didn't even look like the same person. And he called me, and he said, "Well, at least I'm not drinking anymore." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, you're not, but you didn't replace it with an a good habit." And so I don't even know how many years. Like I can't even begin to tell you how many years. And that's another thing of children of poverty is the addiction level is higher.
Mhm.
I was fortunate,
Yeah.
and I escaped all that because and that is what I was telling you. Like this is my normal. And for other people, it's not their normal. And it's so weird because excuse me, I just got over COVID, but I have a friend, my same friend that is here now. She's sitting in the kitchen, and so my brother and I were both very close to an uncle who is still and has been for as long as I can remember a full blown addict, and he is now living in a metal building, um, with with a dog, and we take him groceries when we can. I don't he doesn't have a phone anymore, so he can't call. We go look for him and make sure that he's alive, and all the
Mhm.
things. And so that was normal for me. The life of addiction. I can remember being at my grandmother's house when his dealers would call and say, "If Ty doesn't pay me, I'm going to blow up your house." And that was just like, okay. I mean, that's just what we dealt with. Well, one day I had my friend Erica, and she's from Michigan initially, and we went to there's a little area in my hometown called Eastlake, and that's where he lives. Um, and so I said, I'm gonna drive by and check on my uncle if you don't mind. She just happened to be with me or whatever. And she's like me. She's very chatty.
Mhm.
And he came out. He was actually talking with some sense in his head that day. So I was like, "Oh, this is refreshing. You're acting like you got some sense in your skull." And she wasn't saying anything, like nothing. She just kind of sat there, and which is totally out of character for her. And when we left, we pulled away, and I don't know, I didn't ever go in. I didn't get out of the car in this bad neighborhood. And it was summer. He's dirty. He's living in a house with no power, no water. And that that's normal for me. That's normal. And she said she finally spoke up, and I had no idea. No idea. She said that was very uncomfortable for me. And I said, You you weren't in any danger. I mean, like,
Mhm.
she was like, "No," just because there was a man that had come down the road on a bicycle,
Mhm.
and, apparently she was watching him. I saw him. I didn't pay any attention to him. This is normal. This is what it is. This man has been an addict in my family for ever since I was a small child, and how he speaks is loud and crazy, and it's normal for me. And so when she's telling me, she was like, "That was just really, really uncomfortable." And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I put you in this position. I never meant to scare you. I don't think about that. I don't think that that is not normal for most people.
Mhm.
That is normal for me to go track down my uncle who happens to be a crack addict. This is normal. I have been doing it for years. I have been going even when my papa, my grandfather, was alive. He would call me. He lost his vision because he was diabetic, and that's my mother's brother. And he would call me. I believe Ty's dad over here out here in the building. My grandparents had a storage shed in the back of their house, and my uncle would go get high, do whatever he does, and he would go into the storage shed in the back of the house. I don't know what he did back there, but I know that to give my grandfather peace of mind, I would have to get in my car and drive over and go look in the building to see if Ty was in there dead. And sometimes I would even have to take my papaw out. He held on to my purse or my shirt strap and go with him. He would go with me to see if he was in the
Mhm.
building dead. And I tell people that, and it's like as the words are coming out of my mouth, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds really bad. But this is my normal. This
Yeah.
this has been my normal for years, and it's unfortunate, and I hate it. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to help him. We've tried all the things, but that's what I'm saying with poverty and all the problems that follow you into adulthood. This is your normal. This is and you don't understand why people don't understand. They're like, "Well, why are you uncomfortable?" We are just in a very ghetto neighborhood in the middle of the day doing what people do, looking for their
Mhm.
crackheaded uncle. I mean, what's wrong? What could be the problem here? And they're like, "Oh, like, okay. Yeah." She was like, "Wait, when we were going there, she's like, where does your uncle live?" And I was like, "Oh, he's down here in East Lake." She's like, "Oh, okay. Are we going there?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, we're fine." That's my friend that's leaving now. Yeah, and I apparently scared the bejesus out of her that day. I took her. I've taken her a couple of times, and I guess the first maybe time she didn't say anything. Maybe I didn't pick up on it. But the second time I was like, "You okay over there?" She's like, I'm very uncomfortable. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, sorry. I didn't mean it.
Yeah. It's just normal to you.
It is normal to me. It is normal to me. And my mom and my stepdad fought, like physically fought all the time. My grandparents, that was my escape. That was my escape. That's where I went to be safe. And they fought. Like I used to have nightmares as a child about them killing each other. And that was normal to me. That's where I was I knew that they weren't ever going to hurt me. In fact, I was married before my husband.
Mm-hmm.
This is my second marriage, and yeah, I was in a very abusive marriage for a long time. And the very first time I introduced my ex husband to my grandparents, we got in the car and they were fighting. Like they were in there, they were just screaming and fighting and yelling and, all the things. And we got in the car and he's just kind of sitting there. And I was like, you okay? And he said, are you just going to leave them like that? And I was like, oh, they're fighting. No, no, no. I would be more worried if they weren't fighting. No, no, they're good. We can go. And he's like, uh, okay. And I was like, yeah, this is, and so when you start thinking, you're like, this isn't how other people live.
Mm-hmm.
And you're an adult and you're just like, this isn't normal. This isn't normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is one of the reasons that I have been, almost overly passive because I do not like confrontation. I do not like to argue with people. I'm not going to argue with people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not going to I'm not. I'm just not because I don't like that. And that's a part of my life that I left there and I don't ever want to go back there. That's not that is looking back I remember when my mom and my stepdad first got married, I was very young. And my mom, of course, and my little mama, my mother's grandmother, my mother's grandmother. I lived with her a lot. I don't have too many memories of my mother as a young child, but I remember this. They had gotten married and moved in with the uncle, and my stepdad had gotten drunk, and he had my mom on the floor and he was straddling her and he was hitting her head up against a vacuum cleaner. And there again, I'm going to age myself a little bit because this was like one of those old commercial metal vacuum cleaners. And he was hitting my mom's head on this vacuum cleaner. I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old. And I just kept, I was screaming. I was standing there and I was terrified that he was going to kill my mama. This was it. This was all, aside from my grandparents, you can't kill my mama. Like, this is it. She's the only person I have. Like, what's going to happen to me? So I went and he wouldn't get off of her. So I went and got a broom and I started hitting him with it, trying to get him off my mom. And looking back, I'm like, I would be mortified. I don't have children of my own, but I have nieces and I love those kids. I know people say I love them like they're my own, and I know that that's probably not possible. But if my nieces, and one of them happens to be 5, ever witness something like that, oh my God, Portia, I can't even imagine. Like at this point in my life, and it's never occurred to me until right here, this very second. Like I can't imagine what they would think seeing something like that. And I've never even thought about it because it's not a part of my life anymore. But I can't imagine what would, little Indigo seeing something like that, how that would affect her. And like I said, I'm a strong-willed person and I always have been. And my grandmother used to tease me about, she would tell me, you would argue with the stop sign. And so right now, thinking about that baby, watching somebody hit her mama like that, like I got to see a lot, and somebody hit your grandmother, these men that shouldn't be hitting on women anyway, and you're witnessing this and you're seeing it as a child, and that's just a part of my past. And then I didn't even, like I said, it never even occurred to me to think of my baby niece that I love so dearly. Ever, I got teardrops on my shirt. Ever
Mm-hmm.
seeing something like that, it just, oh my God, it just
Yeah.
kills me. The thought of that just breaks my heart. And like this is the life that I lived.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. I'm a better person. I'm on the other side of
Hmm.
that. I
Yeah.
am definitely a better person for maybe not for seeing that, but because of that,
Yeah.
if that
How
makes
you
any sense.
responded to that, how you made yourself a stronger
Yes,
person because of that. And that's
absolutely.
amazing because those are
Absolutely.
very traumatic experiences. Yet
Yes,
here,
and
yeah, here you are, you know, an
mm,
educator who has touched so many lives. So,
yeah,
wow.
and that's so that is why I became an educator. And I have teachers still, um, my teachers were the constant in my life, and they may never know. They may, a lot of them do, but they may never know that they are the reason that I'm a teacher because I can remember in fourth grade and fifth grade and, you know, most of my grades, my teachers were my absolute favorite people because they were there every day. They were every day, no matter what was going on at home. If we were just screaming at each other and fighting and trying to get out the door. And, I remember my stepdad taking parts off my mom's car so we couldn't leave, and I was late to school every day, and I got in trouble. I never ever got in trouble, and I got sent to the principal's office every day when I was in fourth grade for being late to school. I couldn't drive. I couldn't get myself there. And but regardless of what I dealt with this from the time I stepped foot in the school, my teachers, they were there. They were there every day. They were there to let me know that I was important and it was okay. And they didn't know what I was dealing with. I never told them. I was instructed not we don't tell what's happening because I think my mom worried that they were they they actually did call child protective services when I was in fourth grade,
Mhm.
and she got investigated, but it was because she was trying to make me wear tights, and they itched my legs, and she was so mad at me because we were late, and she hit me on the leg with a
Oh,
shoe. And when I got to school, I was crying, and because she hit me with the shoe, and it left a place on my leg, and it hurt. And she did not mean my mom did not abuse me by any means, but when I got to school and I was still crying, and my teacher asked me, she took me, I remember she took me to the faculty bathroom, and she made me pull up my little dress, and there was this mark on my leg from this shoe. And she's a mandatory reporter anyway. So they did call or whatever they did. I don't know what they did, but that's, I thought, when I was at school, all the way through school, these people that had no idea of the impact that they were making on my life at the time, they had no idea that just being there every single day made me feel safe when my home life was insane, you know. And if I can make a child feel that way, if I can make a child feel safe and loved when they felt like nobody loved them, that's what I'm going to do because that's what they did for me. And I think that's probably why I'm so passionate. People are like, "Why are you still working at midnight?" And I'm like, "Because I got to get these kids pass the test, and they got to do this, and we got to do this." And I mean, my husband is like my biggest supporter, but he's also my biggest. Hey, it's time to wrap up. It's 10 o'clock, and it's time to stop. Like, and I take their education and their feelings very personally, their success very personally. And because I'm like, I need kids to know that I care about them and that I love them. And regardless of what they do, I'm always going to love them. Always. Always. And that's why it's important. That was why it was important for me to become an educator. And when I tell you that was a feat because not only I had to work full time, I had to take care of my dying grandparents. I had to take care of my dying mother. It took me 12 years to get my degree, but I was not giving up. And then when I got out of college, there were no jobs here. So that's what brought me to
oh
Texas. And
wow.
yes, I'm so thankful for Miss Bennett because I I will never forget what she did for me because I had student teaching experience, I had subbing experience. They actually hired me in an elementary school um as the permanent in-house sub, which was great. It was supposed to lead to a job. And they had a fifth grade position come open. And when I tell you it's small town USA, this is just how it works. Then a fifth grade position come open that I was going to be put in. And all the fifth grade teachers recommended me. They loved me. Here we want her. But at down on the ninth, what is that phrase? The down to the wire on the ninth hour, whatever. The principal was retiring, and she put in a personal friend.
Mm.
And she said, "It's not personal." And I said, "It's probably one of the very first times I ever stood up for myself and was a little bit confrontational."
Mm.
And I said, "It may not be personal for you, but it is absolutely personal for me." And she was like, "We want you to come back here next year." And I said, "No. I'm not coming back as a sub. I don't get paid much. I don't have insurance. I can't do this.
Mhm.
Like I need health insurance. I need benefits. I need more pay, pay what I'm worth." And teaching here doesn't is the pay is not great. And so actually when I came out to Texas, I reached out to all these principals, and I was like, how am I going to approach this situation? Because nobody's responding. I'm filling out all these applications and nobody's responding.
Mhm.
So I went on Google and looked up principals in the area, and I started individually emailing them. And I sent Miss Bennett an email just on a whim, and I didn't really give these people an option. I said, "When would you like to meet with me?" And she's the only one that reached back out to me. And that was her story. If you'll remember my last day when I was crying and bawling and
Mhm.
I didn't want to leave, um, I came into the school backwards because I had no idea where I was. It was pouring down rain. I was like, I'm lost. I don't even know if I'm at the right school. So that's that's that. That's she took a chance on
Yeah.
me. She didn't know me. I'm this country bumpkin from Georgia, and here she is, and she hired me right on the spot, and it was the best thing ever. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And in fact, I took my salary letter to Miss Judy and said, "This is wrong." And she said, "Oh, did they tell you that you were going to be making more?" And I said, "No, you are paying me way too much." And she started laughing at first, and then she was like, "Oh, you're serious?" And I was like, "Is this what you're going to pay me? Like this much?" Because here teachers at the time were starting out at
Mhm.
27,000 a
Mhm.
year. Barely anything. You can't live on that, but it's what they do. You don't do it for the money. We all know that. But yeah, that's
Wow. Well,
so
I didn't know
God
the
put me right in.
background of your being hired to Genoa, but I'm glad Miss Bennett did. But I mean, it
Me
was a.
too.
I love going to your classroom. With, you know,
I loved having you in there.
yeah.
I loved having you in there. You were always, you have no idea. People tell me all the time, "Oh, your life is inspirational. Your life is this." And I'm like, no, no, you have to meet one Portia Alvaro, because let me tell you something, you would never know the things that you went through, the things that you have been through personally in your life that I know. And to see you on the other side of that and to see the person that you are an inspiration to me. You just have no idea. You may never know the full impact that you have had on my life as a person, but you have, darling. You absolutely have. You were my sanity when I was
Oh,
insane,
yeah.
and when Sarah was coming out, and you know, all the things, and your personal
I
struggles.
prevented you from using a wooden
Sarah's throwing
spoon.
staplers.
No,
Kept that
no.
stapler from going into the wall that day. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Whew, it
No,
happens
I love
sometimes.
going to your classroom. And I think, the kids loved you so much. Yeah. They
Um,
just,
my
it's
love for
just a,
those kids,
yeah.
it
And then all
is.
the activities
I
that you had were so fun. And the crafts that you
it
made.
was it was always, and it still is. Even though I'm teaching older kids now, um, it is so important. And I feel like this. And I say this in a lot of like interviews that I've done for schools, over the years. every teacher will leave the profession one way or the other with a legacy. And my legacy is always going to be the relationships that I build with my students. It's not going to be, it may, maybe it is, maybe because I've ran some scores up and thank God for that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a bonus. That's a bonus. That's not what it's about. If the if the kids leave my classroom at the end of the day and they know that I love them and they know that I have high expectations and they know that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, you can scream at me, you can have a fit, you can, whatever. I'm still going to love you and there's nothing they can do about it. I'm going to love you and you're going to be loved. If you feel like nobody on the planet loves you, you always know that Miss Poi loves you no matter
Mm-hmm.
what. And that's important for me. That's important. That's always been important to me because there's probably a lot of little Taras running around in the world that you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with in every single day. Every single day. They're dealing with stuff that's way heavier than what we deal with as adults. And that's sad to me. That is sad. And so they're going to know. They're always going
Yeah.
to know. I'm going to make sure of that.
I think your experiences in childhood or with poverty has helped you to really reach out to them and understand them.
Hmm. I am them.
Mm.
And that's why my husband has been after me. My uncle even has mentioned coming up to the mountains. That's where all the rich kids live. And I will always teach in high needs schools. I don't want to teach in private schools. I don't want to teach in, the ritzy neighborhood. I don't want to teach there. My husband's like, why don't you go to a good Christian school? Why don't you? Because when you teach children in poverty, it is hard sometimes. It is like, there are days that I'm like, can
It's
I
not
do this for the
sometimes, it's
rest of
almost all the time.
yeah, like, can I do this every day for the rest of my life? Like, I don't know. And then you just get up and you find it in you and you keep doing it and you keep going. And some days I question my career choice. I'm like, did I mean, and I joke with my kids. I'm like, hello, welcome to Walmart. And they know that oh Lord, she's thinking about going to be a Walmart greeter. Like, we're getting on her nerves. We got to stop it. And so, because I'm like, what? Some days I just look at them and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, have you done lost your mind? Like, all the sense gone out of your head? Like, seriously, I know you're in sixth grade and that's a tough group. That is a tough group.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth graders are really sweet and most of this, most of them are sweet, but some of them are like,
Uh-huh.
I had a student, she didn't say this to my face, but she wrote it on her. So I use this program called Class Kick. And that way I can see everything
Mm-hmm.
that they're doing in real time. And she's like that child. She's not going to do any work. She's not going to do anything. She doesn't care what you say. She's going to do her own thing. And she seriously wrote me a note that said, Miss Boyd, can you please quit writing on my paper? And I said, I will quit writing on your paper when you learn to spell writing. So no, I can't.
Yeah.
No, I will not. I will
Mm-hmm.
always write on your paper every day. Every day I will write multiple things just to make you mad,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Oh
so
wow.
it's tough,
Yeah.
but it
Rewarding.
is. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, you couldn't pay to have some of this stuff. The kids that come back and say, just send me random emails still, even though I've moved 1,000 miles away, or, a
Mm-hmm.
long way away. The kids that have reached out to me and, they have found me on social media and they have sent me messages and tell me, when I was in fourth grade, you were my favorite teacher and you always made me feel important. And, I'm going to med school. I have one child that's going to med school. I have one child that's just reached out to me this year. They've graduated high school or they're about to
Mm-hmm.
graduate and they're going to do all these beautiful things. And I'm like, and you thought of me? Like, you have all this stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
And I just taught you to read when you were in fourth grade and tried to teach you to be a good person. And how flattering is that? And what an honor is that to have these children come back to you all these years later and say, they never say, Miss Poi, I am so glad that you helped me ace that STAR test. No, that's not what they come back and say to me. They're like, you always made me feel loved. You made me feel cared for. And that is it. That is it.
All right. As we wrap up, what encouragement would you like to leave for anyone who feels stuck in their poverty?
There's a way to fix it. And unfortunately, people are probably not going to like what I have to say. And that is hard work, determination, keep your faith, keep your family close, value what is important to you, and try. Just find a space, even if it's in your own head, because that's a lot of, I think what kept me safe and sane maybe is just knowing that I could do something about it. I could do something. I'm not stuck. I am never stuck. You are never stuck. People aren't ever stuck. You may feel stuck. You may have to put the work in, and that sometimes stinks. It does sometimes feel like a trap.
Mhm.
It does. And I still have days where maybe there's not enough toilet paper. I don't know.
Then you're stuck.
Then you're stuck. Then you're just gonna have to sit there and figure out where your life is going, because this is not okay. Like, yeah, there are certain things where you might be stuck.
All right. Well,
That was great.
that's a great ending. I like that.
Me too.
All right. Well,
Happy notes. And
yeah. Well,
it has
Tara,
been
thank
so
you
nice
so
seeing
much.
your face.
Thank you for sharing your story, your insights. And I hope our viewers or listeners out there, learn something from what we just talked about.
Absolutely. It has been an absolute honor. And let me tell you, we have gone through the gamut of emotions just like we always did.
Yeah,
It's like time stood still. We're crying, we're laughing, we're reflecting. We're like, wait a minute. I should be really messed up right now.
Wow. Yeah. But we always end up laughing though.
We do.
Yeah.
It is life is what you make it, and hold strong to your values and your faith, and never ever waver from what you believe in your heart. Never ever give up on that. And if you have a dream, you got to go after it. Got to go after it.
Mm-hmm.
It may take you 12 years.
Yeah.
It may take you 12 years and $80,000, but who's counting,
Hopefully that's all paid off.
Well, we're working on it now.
Getting there.
I'm like, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I only have to pay the student loan people back for 70 more years. I'll be dead, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm paying for that education.
Yes.
There's other ways to do it.
All right. Tara, thank
Never
you
give
so much. Thank you. This has been really great. And then for our viewers, if you like this, let's continue to subscribe, like, and comment and share.
Absolutely. It has been an absolute honor.